Hello there, fellow Subaru do-it-yourselfers. Just a couple of tips here on doing your timing belt. This is the first timing belt I've done on a Japanese car. I'm not a very in-depth mechanic, but I'm somewhat self-sufficient. And I did have some good tips, some videos, some forums I went on to. But just some things you need to know before you do the job yourself. This is an automatic. What it is a 2007 Subaru Outback XT. Pretty much same engine, everything that comes in the STIs, the WRXs, and I think some Bajas that are out there. It's the 2.5 liter. And so a couple of tips where to start. Being that this is an automatic, when you're trying to get the bolt out of the crank pulley, I had a hell of a time figuring out what to do, but here I'll show you. You got to take your intercooler off. And I don't know if I can even get to it. Let me turn my light on here. But under the intercooler, I don't think I'm going to be able to get to it. It's right about in this area, right down here. But you take the intercooler off, and you see that bracket with the bolt sticking out of it? It's right below that bracket, and it's a rubber grommet. But what that allows you to do is stick a screwdriver down in there and turn the crank until you get a hole that you can jam a screwdriver down into. That's probably about a 2-inch hole, and so you just turn it until there's tension, stick a screwdriver down there, and then you're able to snap that bolt loose. That took me forever to figure that out, and I tried putting it in drive and everything, just it didn't work out. And so some other small tips. We went with new hoses, uppers and lowers, and make sure to get these brackets or the hose clamps, because the stock ones will not let you fit with the new hoses that are hard, will not let you get them onto the vehicle. And so I was doing this about 10 o'clock last night on a Saturday. Nothing, surprisingly, was open, so I had to stop it until this morning and go get new clamps. And that was upper and lower. Not sure if I can see the lower, but yeah, there's a lower. Had to do those as well. Everything else is pretty straightforward. Actually, there's one more tool you have to, that makes this job a whole hell of a lot easier. It's this tool right here, and what it does is, you know, since you've got the horizontally opposed engine, you've got the, I don't know, I think the AVCS cam, and then the other cam below it. And excuse me for not being too technical, because obviously I'm not any sort of mechanic, but so you've got one above and one below, and what this thing does, you can see the rounded shape where it would fit in between the two round pulleys, and so this kind of sticks in there and keeps them in place. This highly recommend doing this at least with one other guy or gal, and preferably someone that knows a little bit about Subarus. Without that tool, this would have been damn near impossible, unless you've got 4 guys, one holding each pulley, and then routing the belt around it, because they do slip. And so you can't just put them into place and then put the belt on. Another tip is go with a quality setup or aftermarket parts. Dayco makes a crappy setup. I would highly recommend not doing Dayco. I guess I can turn this towards myself. But do the Gates kit. It's very thorough, and it has all the markings you need. It comes with the full kit. Comes with the water pump if you choose that, which is highly recommended. I pulled the old pump off, and I mean, it looks pretty good, except for one simple fact. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get it on my camera here. but you can see some scarring around that outer edge where the fins hit. You know, at first glance it looks good and there's no shaft play whatsoever. So your average guy might say, okay, well that's fine. There's nothing wrong with it. But since I had that simple scarring, that kind of makes me wonder whether or not that was a good part. So I just went ahead and replaced it. This is my oil pump, which you get access to once you pull the timing cover off. And it is missing that bolt, but I took that off myself. I was trying to screw around with it, but what I did is actually just ordered the STI oil pump, which is the inlet and outlet tubes are 11 millimeters versus 10 millimeters, and so you do get better oil flow. That was recommended to me by a friend that knows what he's doing. And apparently it just, it works fine. There's nothing wrong with using that. And again, it just bolts right up and you get better oil flow. So that's highly recommended on these vehicles as well. I can't really think of anything else. Just those few tips are nice to know before you get into this job. I don't know where you find that tool, the red tool for the cams that I was talking about. I don't know where in the heck he found that. I got that from a friend that has a Subaru. But everything else should be pretty straightforward. All we did was take out the radiator and then hoses and all of that, of course. Of course, disconnected the battery. I'm doing a new mass airflow there, which does not have to be done. But I also have HIDs, and so that's what all these extra cords are for. Another do-it-yourselfer project I did, which was pretty easy. Highly recommended, by the way. And then we pulled the intercooler off. And again, that's probably just for the automatics. You don't have to do that, if I'm not mistaken, for the 5-speeds. But on the automatics, it's almost necessary unless you do have a special tool that does fit onto the crank and allows you to pull that bolt. We used a puller kit to try and do that, and that did not allow us to pull off the crank pulley. How these work is obviously you just stick some bolts in through these, and you get a couple around, and then you try to keep it stationary while you move the center bolt. And again, that did not work. So if that's your method for getting it off, that will not work, since the other bolt holes on the pulley are not threaded. So again, take off the intercooler and do that. Take out that grommet and you'll find that hole that you need. Otherwise, I can't really think of anything that's, it's all pretty straightforward. If you have any questions, of course, you can ask me below the video for comments. But again, I'm no mechanic. This is my second Subaru, and I've done a little bit of work here and there, but I'm no mechanic. I'm used to American muscle and not these Japanese cars. So anyways, good luck on your project, and if you have any questions, again, post them. But otherwise, good luck. It's a 10, 12-hour job. So, all right, take it easy.